hey, you're going to have to get in front of 60 people and put on a fucking show. And you might have to take on a different identity, but you got to give yourself permission to become that person. I really believe that when you have momentum, you got to put the foot on the fucking gas, because you're only going to get that magical momentum one time when you open a location. Because we're actually in how do we make people feel business. That's the whole game, is how do we make people feel when they walk through our doors? Because the average feeling that people have with a gym is negative.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am joined here today with my special friend, Mateo Lopez, who is wearing a hat for the first time in show history at celebrate episode, I think 31 now.
I was gonna wear this hat, but I couldn't. I chickened out, so I'm going with my other hat.
You can go back, put the gym hat on, and then and joining us today is special guest Matt Wilber. He is the CEO of a whole host of companies, housed under Elite Fitness Group. And most notably, he had 10 gyms, 4 of which were doing over 7 figures, and a system-wide sales of over $7 million. And going into COVID, I believe you just told us you were at about a little over $8 million run rate, which is insane, because you are not in New York, you are not in San Francisco, you are in Michigan.
Yes.
And not even Detroit, right? Like not even you're
other side, West Michigan.
Other side, West Michigan. So welcome to the show. So let's talk about it. How'd you get into the gym space, and how did you become how'd you get so successful, man? How'd you make so much revenue in West Michigan?
Tell us your secrets.
Yeah, give us a gossip.
We want to be rich too.
Well, it actually correlates to why I got into the gym business. So I actually started as a really heavy kid, massively affected my life, like insecurity. I played sports and all that stuff, but going into high school during wrestling season, freshman year, I lost a bunch of weight. And then finally, for the first time in my life, I was a normal weight kid. All the confidence that came with that, became obsessed with working out, obsessed with learning about nutrition, about transformation, read all the bodybuilding magazines front to cover whenever they would come out. And then I decided I went to school. Initially, I went to a school called Ferris State University, and I followed my brother there because he knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a police officer. I thought I wanted to go into finance because I felt like people in finance made money, and my whole life we never had any money. And then I took my first finance course. I'm like, this is not for me. And then I had to take a freshman seminar class, and it was all about discovering what you should do with your life. And then I found out there's this thing called an exercise science degree, which I had never heard of before. And then I transferred schools, got my exercise science degree. I thought I wanted to go into strength and conditioning because that was kind of like the sexy thing for a while. So I did my internship at the University of Michigan.
Famously, strength and conditioning coaches make a lot more than finance people. So yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. You go into college strength and conditioning if you want to make the big bucks.
Yeah, and you want to have no life and never see your family. And
good balance.
I quickly realized, hey, this isn't for me. I was like, no, this is not for me. So I had no idea what I was going to do with my life once I got my bachelor's degree. So I was like, well, if I go get my master's degree in exercise physiology, no one will make fun of me. And then hopefully I can figure out what I want to do. And then I went to school. I was a graduate assistant, and then a full-time student. And then I was personal training at a gym. And then it came to a crossroads at the end of my master's degree. I went to my teacher and I said, hey, I think I want to be a personal trainer. And he said, Matt, you're too smart to be a personal trainer. And I was like, oh shit, right? I was like, okay, what do I do? So when I graduated, I moved home. I'm living in my grandma's basement, $100,000 in student loan debt, having no idea what I was going to do with my life. And then I became the strength and conditioning coach at my high school, making $1,000 a month. And then I teamed up with a physical therapy company that wanted to launch a personal training company inside of their gym. And they paid me for 10 hours a week, $20, no matter what. But they never marketed their gym. They never tried to get clients. And they basically just had me sitting there waiting. I had one client, and it was a client that wanted to lose weight. And I talked to the gym and I said, hey, what should we provide this person? They said, give them this book. And the book was like, this is good food, this is bad food. And I was like, if it was that simple to just know what is good food and what is bad food, then we'd be all right. So our values didn't align. And then I went to a gym called Powerhouse Gym, and the owner really loved nutrition. And at that time, I wasn't as versed I didn't feel as confident in nutrition at the time. So I was like, I'm going to start really doing transformations. He'll do the nutrition, I'll do the training. It's a perfect combination. But there was a problem. I thought, I have a master's degree and I really want to help people. Everybody would be flooding my doors. And I had one client, and it was the client from the other gym, and that was it. And that first month, I got paid out 30 days after. So the gym got paid, and then I had to process. I got paid 30 days after. So the first month of training, I made $0. But I was like, I have no idea how to market my services. No one knows who I am. And I need to start making some money because I'm broke and my student loans are about to kick in. So I go to Google and I search how to get clients, and a guy named Bedros Keuilian pops up. And at the time, you could not do anything in the gym space without Bedros Keuilian popping up. And he had a video. He said, hey, boot camps are a great way to leverage your time. You're going to help more people. You're going to make more money. And I was like, all right, Fat Loss Boot Camp. And we marketed to the email list, which I had no idea how to write email copy. I had no idea how to do anything, but we got 14 people and they got phenomenal results. And then we ran another one. So most of those people stayed to do another round, and then another round. And eventually that built up to 60 people between at that gym. And then at the high school, on the days that I didn't have access to the room, I started a boot camp at the high school as well. So we had 60 people. And then it took me about 6 months to know that Bedros was the CEO of Fit Body Boot Camp. And I always joke with him. I'm like, you're this world-class marketer, but it took me 6 months to realize that you were the CEO of Fit Body Boot Camp. And at the time, the buy-in was only $10,000. That's all I had. All I had was the buy-in. I was like, man, I'm passionate about training. If I can learn some business, I'm gonna be all right. And went out to California and went to the orientation that they have. And I actually learned the most, and this is a learning lesson. Ed Milet says this: the greatest lessons in life are caught, not taught. I was the only person that went to all the successful Fit Body boot camps in the area and learned from them. And I saw what was working. I saw what wasn't working. One guy was really good at sales, and then another lady was really good at making people feel awesome. So one of the trainings was you go there and they teach you how to run a session. And she blew my mind. There was, I think, 11 of us. She knew all took a session. She knew all our names at the end of the session. She used our names during the session. She made you feel special during the session. At the end of the session, she gave every single person a call out by name. And I was like, okay, what was that voodoo? Because I've always found, hey, if you make me feel a certain way, how did you do that? Because we're actually in how do we make people feel business. That's the whole game, is how do we make people feel when they walk through our doors? Because the average feeling that people have with a gym is negative. Most people's states, which your states are the alignment of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings. Your states drive your actions drive your outcomes in life. Most people's states when it comes to the gym is negative. Like, think about the gym. We make people feel like shit. In reality, right? If you're out of shape, you come to the gym for the first time, like you're not feeling good whatsoever. And then when you got to go sit on the toilet for the first time, you're like, what the hell did I sign up for? And then we got to get in coming back, which is a massive challenge. But I opened my first location in a 1,700 square foot facility, and I had no money. So I had to put everything on no interest credit cards for 18 months. And then eventually I ran out of the ability to put anything on a credit card. So all the dumbbells, all the kettlebells, all the equipment was on the floor. That was it. And the only reason it worked was because me and my dad built out the entire location ourselves in 3 weeks. So 1,700 square feet. My dad's done construction his entire life. So we banged that out in 3 weeks. We opened with 60 people. So the same 60 people that were with me before. The grand opening campaign was cold traffic to a paid in full special. How many people do you guys think bought that?
What year is this?
2013.
Were you doing ads?
Fair amount. I would say a fair amount back then.
It was, depending on one
person, and it was the principal of the high school who I knew. And it was funny because she was paying more than everybody else, and I felt bad, so I actually refunded it to her.
Oh
Gave
my
her a
gosh.
discount to the zero, the free training.
Yeah. But with that, I mean, but that just shows you like my sense of worth at the time. Like I didn't think I was even worth what she paid, and I couldn't believe somebody would pay that without even trying it. But she did. And we opened with 60 people. I had a block rocker and an iPad, and I basically just screamed at people from 5 o'clock in the morning till at night. And then I did my sales appointments in between, and it took off. I didn't have a sign on my building whatsoever because I couldn't afford it. It was pretty podunk. I thought it was pretty awesome at the time, but it was pretty podunk. But I feel like in 2013, you could get away with a lot that you just can't really get away with today. Things are a lot more competitive. So it was a small town of 10,000 people, but the advantage was there was no other boot camp. There was group classes at gyms, but there was nothing that was anything like what we were providing. But my dream was when people are ready to change their life, they would walk through our doors, and I'd do anything to help them. And so started with just me. I did every single job. I was the marketer. I answered the phone calls. I was the administrative person. And then I was drowning. I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to keep up with this? And things started to slack, right? Like the follow up with leads and getting them in for appointments started to slack. And one night I was at dinner with 4 or 5 clients, and one of the clients was like, Matt, I think you need some help. And I was like, I do. And she's like, I'll help you. I'm like, you're willing to help me? And I couldn't really afford to pay her a whole lot. So I paid her $10 an hour. But what I did was I just delegated away the things that I was not doing consistently or robbed me of energy. I didn't even know about delegation. I just was like, this shit's not getting done. I hate doing it. And you're able to do it. So what I did with her was everyone who came in for a free, they were able to come in for a free week. So the process at the time, come in for a free week. We set you up for a one-on-one consultation. I meet with you, I close you, and then we're off to the races. So she would take the par queue, she would call them, she would get them on my calendar, and then she would come and work out. The next day, she would just take what was there, and then the next step was she would process whatever I sold. And then eventually I was willing to give up the phone and give up all the other stuff. And then I hired my best friend at the time to be our morning coach. And he took over the morning sessions, and then we just kept scaling and growing from there. And then within 11 months, we were opening our second location, which that's when I actually created our grand opening program that we've opened 4 locations between 300 and 450 challengers now, because I had to create our own process because the one before just did not work whatsoever. And I basically ripped off and duplicated what PN does to sell their certifications. And it just gangbusters from there. And then what we're known for is our challenges using our direct macro system. So we've helped over 300 clients lose 50 pounds or more. And our nutrition system has helped clients lose over 1 million pounds. So a big thing with us is our team is the game. Like our team is amazing. We have a complete hiring system, and then we grow and develop our team. And our team knows their assignment, which is to make people feel good when they walk through our doors. And when you make people feel good when you walk through the doors, they come, they pay, they stay, they refer, they become raving fans, and you're able to scale and grow from there.
So 11 months in, you were like, instead of paying off these credit cards that are doing 7 months, I'm going to double down. But was that the game plan?
No, we were actually doing pretty good. So the second location, I actually took out a loan from one of my clients, a $30,000 loan from one of my clients to open the second location, which, now 30,000, I'm not sure what that would actually buy, but we were willing to do a lot of sweat equity, right? Where now we just hire everything out. But back in the day, it was a lot of sweat equity and running way leaner. So when we opened that location, I opened with what I call a phantom partner, who was my best friend who did the morning sessions, who now runs a national franchise down in Florida. He opened the location with administrative help, and he had to go and grind all the hours and do all the appointments and do all this stuff, and then get to a certain point, and then we'd hire a coach. We're now, like, when we started getting into our groove, we would open with a partner, 3 to 4 coaches that were trained for 3 to 4 months and be able to deliver like the best experience possible. But as we did, we were able to cash flow opening all the other locations. And part of the reasons why we were able to cash flow and be able to open the locations like that was because we had a really awesome grand opening strategy that we weren't going to be completely in the red for months and hoping things would work out. We knew they would work out.
And it sounds like you could open a location for 30 grand. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah. The third location though was like 150 grand. That one. So we initially though, we were opening small locations. So think like the first location was 1,700 square feet. And then we expanded it twice because we just kept growing and growing and growing. That one got up to 4,500 square feet. But at one time that location had 800 members in it. It was a sweat box. There'd be 60, 70 people just crammed into one room. Second location was 3,400 square feet. But the layout was fine. We didn't have to move bathrooms. We didn't have to put a ton into the construction. And then the third location though that's when we went really big. And that's when things like really took off. It was a 6,400 square feet Hollywood video store. And again, the location before that was only 3,400 square feet, but
yeah, that's big. That's a big switch.
If we wanted to be in that neighborhood, that was the only building available. And I had to take it was kind of like one of those things like, all right, either this is going to work really well or we're going out of business. One or the other, but I had a really amazing partner going into that location. And I would have bet $1 billion on that kid that things were going to work out.
And so for people who are unfamiliar with Fit Body, like what kind of packaging and pricing, like what does a Fit Body membership cost, or what did it cost at the time? We
opened at 97 at the time. When I left, we were charging $36 a week, so about $150 a month is what that would be. And then we made extra money selling challenges and selling members on additional nutrition services and things like that. So our model when I was in Fit Body was really a volume model, because it wasn't just the memberships that we were making. It was the additional revenue that we were making off every single member, whether that was supplements, whether that was clothing, whether that was upselling them to additional challenges and services, because we'd get about 25 to 30% of our members to do our challenges. So if you had 800 members in a location, you had 200 plus clients paying you additional revenue when you run the challenges. And when we're really scaling and growing, we're running 5 to 6 challenges a year, which a lot of businesses right now, when they run 2 or 3, they're crying and bitching that it's a lot of work. But if you really want to grow, like, you got to put your foot on the gas. And I think a big mistake a lot of gyms make when they first open is they don't take advantage of the momentum that they have of being the new shiny object in town. And they just want to be comfortable and kind of coast. And it's like, you only got one shot at being the new thing and really creating a ton of buzz. And I really believe that when you have momentum, you got to put the foot on the fucking gas, because you're only going to get that magical momentum one time when you open a location.
And so, like, we've talked to a decent bit of Fit Body people, and I think Bedros has written about this pretty candidly in his book, that in the early days, Fit Body was kind of like a gong show, like the Wild West. There wasn't a whole lot of like oversight across the locations, and it seems like a lot of them were just struggling to like pay their bills and pay the rent. Like, what were you doing that, you were making? You had multiple locations doing 7 figures. Where like, I don't know what the average unit in there, but it was definitely nowhere near $1 million a year. Like what were you doing that separated you?
A few things. So it was the Wild Wild West, and they'll openly admit it. Obviously, it's not like that now. They have a lot of great systems and processes in place now, which is great. But they used to sell it as the anti-franchise franchise, which is the reason I actually got on board, because one, it was a flat $500 royalty. So I'm like, the better I do, I don't pay them any more money. So that was advantageous. And then it was kind of like, hey, there's kind of some structure, but like, you pretty much are cool to do what you would like. So 30-minute workouts, right? Group training workouts. And that's what it was. But there wasn't really any guidance on what the training should be. There wasn't really any guidance on what the experience should be. And I was always kind of a big believer in like, let's make this thing better. But also I was a big believer in looking at what is everybody else doing and going, well, that's really good. Let me pull that in. That's really good. Let me pull that in. That's really good. Let me pull it in. But when it really changed was in my first location, we had to expand from 1,700 square feet to 3,400 square feet. So before that, it was pretty much just yelling. And by Wednesday, you would have no voice, and it sucked. But there was two things that really changed the game. One was on the weekends, we were so busy that it was impossible for us to give a good session if there was one coach. So at the time, the model was just one coach. Try to run it as lean as possible. But what was happening was it was impossible to give a good session in the sense of like providing energy and kind of that rock concert that you wanted to provide and be able to fix people's forms and stay on top of people. It was impossible. So I was really frustrated because I wasn't able to give the service that I wanted. So then I had my morning trainer join me on Saturdays. I'm like, dude, join me on Saturdays. It's too crazy. Like it's impossible to, and it was the coolest thing ever. Like the first time that we put two people in a room, it was so awesome because you could provide energy, fix people's forms, and it was like way less stressful and it was a lot more fun because you also had somebody else doing it with you. So that was the first thing. At the time, the model was one coach, and that was it. Tried to run as lean and as mean as humanly possible, but you couldn't give the experience that you wanted. The second thing was when we expanded, we had to get a mic because it was going to be impossible to run the sessions without a mic. So that's when it turned into a freaking rock concert. Like music loud, mic, like you're motivating, you're encouraging, like everybody can hear you no matter where they're at in the room. And then you have a second coach. Eventually we went to a third coach. Eventually sometimes there'd be a fourth coach because we'd have 60 to 70 people in a room. So now imagine a rock concert with 3 to 4 coaches that are in your face, challenging you, pushing you, and building relationships with you. And then the third thing that I added to the model was full-time coaches that were salary, that had benefits, that had a career path. At the time, there was nothing like that whatsoever. So a lot of our coaches would come from, if they came from the industry, they're working hourly, they were starving, like they had, like if a client didn't show up, they didn't get paid. And I was like, this sucks. Like, that's just not a way I wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable and taken care of. So we paid them salary, gave them a guaranteed schedule. So a nice schedule, guaranteed, wasn't fluctuating. So it was fixed. And then being able to also provide them benefits. But then the career path was like, hey, you do an awesome job. Eventually we're going to open more gyms and I'm going to have what's called a phantom partner. So what a phantom partner is, you guys probably know, but maybe the audience doesn't know, is they basically get equity, but they actually don't own shit. So I basically created contracts. Hey, as it grows, I'm going to treat you just like I would a equity partner, but legally you don't own anything, which for me, the reason why I did that was like, if you fuck up, you do something stupid, you do something to tarnish our brand, you decide one day I don't want to work anymore. I wanted to have full control, but I wanted them to be compensated like a partner. So my whole goal though was I didn't want to be the face. I didn't want people like, hey, where's Matt today? What's Matt doing? I didn't want that. So I intentionally knew that's what I wanted. So that's a big carrot. That is how we grew. So we were able to motivate people. One, we provided a better job than everybody else. We provided a better product than everybody else. We got better results than everybody else. And everybody wants to be a part of that. And then we had the carrot of, hey, as we grow, there's going to be more opportunity for you, which that's one of the key ways to attract key players. So that's kind of how we grew. And that was our way of, hey, the next location, it's kind of like next person up, who's going to be ready to open. And then we had to transition into a personal development and leadership company at that point, because we were growing faster than we had people ready to really run a location. So then we had to put systems in place to become a personal development leadership company. And then the last aspect of it is we added a world-class internship program that we would get 10 to 15 interns. We would pay them. We'd only pay them like $400 a month. We still do it, but you'd be amazed at what $400 internship compared to don't get paid anything internship. You're going to be able to pick whoever you want. So we would take our interns and develop them for 12 to 16 weeks. And then we would hire the best ones because You get to know who they are at 5 o'clock in the morning over the course of 12 to 16 weeks. You can fake an interview. You can go through that process and fake it, but you can't fake 5 a.m. for 12 to 16 weeks. But they would be bought into our culture. Like, they would be trained, they'd be ready to go, and they would be way better than anyone that we hired off the street, because you got to go basically do the same training for somebody off the street as you did an intern. So then because as you scale and grow, the constraint is good coaches, right? The constraint is having quality leaders and good coaches. You're only going to go as well as you have a good manager or a good leader and you have quality coaches. So as we scaled, we had to go, what's the constraint? And then how do we fix that constraint? And then, like, none of that was in place in FitBody. None of that was in place in the fitness industry. And we just kind of had to figure it out as we go. And that's one of the things that I like to do, is I like to figure it out. So with FitBody, thank God, like, it wasn't a complete system and that all these things were in place, because then I wouldn't have been able to use my creativity and kind of figure that stuff out.
I've heard you kind of talk about this before, and maybe we could go in a bit deeper, like, because it is a big struggle, right? Is hiring coaches, retaining coaches. I think the paid internship's pretty interesting. I haven't really heard many other people in the industry doing that. But for someone who's like having a tough time hiring, scaling, how do you hire? How do you find people? And also, this kind of staff training program sounds pretty robust, sounds really valuable. How many hours of your kind of work week does this take? Is this someone's full-time job coaching the coaches? How many, like, are they splitting their duties with also coaching on the floor? Like, how does that all like play out for you guys?
Yeah. So obviously, if it's internship route, that's the easiest way to hire. So with the internship, though, and this is something that we teach at the Domination Workshop, which we'll talk about later, you have to recruit. Like, that's the thing, is everybody wants these things, but they don't want to go recruit. They don't want to have to even market for a coach. But we go and recruit. We do a hiring process to make sure that they're not going to be a turd, right? We're not going to pay them and then they're going to be a turd. So we're getting high quality interns. So everything starts with getting high quality on the front end, right? And that's a big mistake that people make, is high quality interns. We bring them through the entire program, and then some want to continue in this industry, and then some don't. And then we basically put them through the ringer through our interview process, and the best ones we keep. So 2 to 4 every single internship cycle we are able to keep, and they're ready to go. And the key, though, like, the thing is, like, they're so bought in and they're so hungry. It's really awesome. But if you have a university that's nearby, like, that's the best thing that you can possibly do. But you got to go and build relationships, because an intern goes to the professor and goes, hey, I'm looking for an internship. What do you recommend? You want to be the first top of mind internship. We actually just got it rewarded. We got an award at the exercise science department in the university that's nearby us for being like the best partner that they've ever had in that sake of things. Because we also want to be a good steward and a good partner of them. If you're sending us your students, we want to provide them the best experience possible. So our internship program is 20 hours a week, no matter what. So it's 5 to 6 hours of classroom teaching, either classroom teaching or on the mats training. And then it's 15 hours of on the mats, actually in the trenches, training, doing the activities. And we take a slow approach. Like, the first week, you're just going to observe and watch. The second week, you're going to do a little bit more, and then you're going to do a little bit more and a little bit more. As you can imagine, eventually, when we're just doing FitBody, they have to get on the mic. Like, imagine you being a college senior and now you're on a mic in front of 60 people. So there is a process to develop them and get them going. So that's a big feeder for us, which then puts a lot less pressure on the hiring process, because we're not in desperate need of coaches, which allows us to pick only A players. But it starts with the recruitment. If you look at a lot of people's jobs postings, they all suck. They sell a job, right? Versus selling a career and selling a purpose. It just goes back to even marketing. Like, if you're thinking about marketing a program, are you selling the features or are you selling the benefits? A lot of people just sell the features of a job. and then it's low priced or it's shitty hours. And it's like, who would want that?
Yeah.
Probably a D player that's desperate for a job wants what you're offering. So it all starts also with, what are you offering? Are you offering a career? Do you have career opportunities? Are you selling a big vision of where a company is going? And a lot of people don't do that. They just sell a job. And then for the outside perspective, it's who pays more, or what's the hours, or what's the schedule. So we actually even created a website just to attract trainers and coaches. So being able to send there and create resources. So when somebody's interested in what we do, I'm a big believer in recruiting and selling on the front end, right? And then going into the interview process and changing the card. So we need to recruit and sell on the front end. And then you go into, now we're going to make it really hard for you to get a job with us. So we recruit them on the front end. We send them this material. We also headhunt. So we go through resumes on Indeed and find people that have the qualifications and invite them in. And then referrals. So a lot of coaches will come referred from other coaches on our team. So we have a referral bonus for people on our team. We have referral bonuses for clients, just leveraging that. We like to also go and add coaches from other gyms as friends. So they see all our posts, they see all the stuff that we're doing, and see how we're investing into our team. So we go heavily on the recruiting side for coaches. And then we have a very dialed in process to make sure that we're getting somebody that meets our criteria as a coach. So we will do the first step when they apply, they do a phone interview with 5 questions. And we're just really looking to make sure they're not a turd and that they have good energy and we're not wasting our time. Because before, what we would do is we try to get on a phone call with them. So then you're wasting all this time, all this energy. You're trying to connect and when are you available? And then they don't show up and now you're wasting all this time. So we went to using a phone screening. So it's video screening, really. They answer 5 questions on video. We know instantly, like, is this worth our time or not worth our time? And then if they're not willing to answer 5 questions on video, they're clearly not worth your time. And I think a big thing that a lot of gym owners do is they just waste their fucking time chasing people around. Then we invite them into our location and they think they're coming to just see if we're going to be a good fit for them, but it's the first step of the interview process. Their guard is down. They have no idea what they're walking into. They're going to be their most natural selves. So are they nice to the other coaches? They have to come and do a workout. And do they interact with clients? Do they have good energy? How do they treat people? So one time we had somebody come in and they just kind of treated our front desk person like they were like second fiddle and that they weren't important. How do you think they're going to treat your clients? If somebody's going to act like that to anybody, they're going to eventually do that inside of your business. So we're watching everything that they do. And then we train our coaches to ask certain questions because the level of honesty that they have, because they don't think they're in an interview, they will say some of the dumbest shit. But our coaches have to be trained on what we're looking for. So that's the first part of the interview. The second part is now they come in for a formal interview. If they pass that, they have to do a mock workout. We give them really tough feedback. Like we grill them because we have a feedback culture. And if you can't take feedback when you're trying to get a job, then you're not going to take feedback once you have a job. And part of that is not just what they say, it's how do they respond? Like, what is their body language? What is that telling us? So we purposely, if they were like a 5 out of 10, we'll tell them they're like a 3 out of 10, just to see how they respond and react. And then we'll schedule a second mock, which all we're looking for is improvement. Did you improve on the things that we asked you to improve upon? Because if you don't improve upon the things, again, during the interview process, you're not going to improve them when you get a job. And then we do a final second formal interview, and we're just looking to either confirm red flags or make sure that red flags that maybe popped up before. So hire the right people, have the right systems and processes in place, and don't be desperate, right? Like, don't be desperate, because when you're desperate, you make massive mistakes that will cost you dearly in your business.
I'm just curious about like your side of it too, like the staff side. Who is coaching the coaches? Is that someone's full-time role? Do you have it all automated? Is all like a video module series? But who is grading these people?
Yeah, if it's an intern, we have an internship coordinator that coordinates all that stuff. So we have 2 coaches that are basically like, I'll put those 2 coaches against any coaches in the entire country. They're the ones when it's like the hands-on, how to coach, how to do things, they're the ones doing that. And then the coordinator does all the classroom stuff, and we do leadership development with them. We do a lot of stuff to help increase their self-awareness and the soft skills, which really are the hard skills, right? So that person runs that from recruitment to onboarding to running the entire thing. Typically, all I do is I come in the first day at the end and kind of give a little fire them up type of speech. So I give them like a little bit of encouragement going into that. But then from a new team member, we do, when they get started, they come to orientation, which is like 2 or 3 hours. That is the boring shit. That is the paperwork. And then once a month, I come and do a full, I call it a vision day, but a full day of like pouring into new hires, getting them bought into the vision, bought into what our culture is, and then giving them really the skills that I want them to have, like them understanding nutrition, them understanding what business that we're in is about. How do we make people feel good? So how do we go about making people feel good? And then giving them the mindset that they need to have going into, hey, you're walking in there, like this is the mindset that you need to have to be successful inside of our business. We've created some professional videos that kind of make you feel good and hit you in the feels and all that kind of stuff. And they leave motivated as hell, like going into their first day or going into their first month of work. And then our location leaders have a 12-week onboarding process for every single new team member. So basically, every week we take a step ladder approach of adding things to them. So they are equipped to know what their job is and how to perform their job. And then every single week, they sit down with their location leader, and their location leader gives them feedback on how they did the previous week, and then gives them, hey, this is what we're going to focus on next week. So they're continuously getting feedback, but it's not overwhelming. If you like, hey, you did all these things wrong, it's completely overwhelming. So we do have to pick our battles, but each week we only progress them a little bit. So we're not overwhelming them. They're getting the feedback. And then the last thing that I think your audience will get a good takeaway is oftentimes feedback is reactive, like you fucked up, so now I'm going to give you feedback. A lot of that can be avoided. Your job during training should be to give people confidence. That's your job, because when you give people confidence, then they have courage to do what they need to do, and then that leads to competence, and then that loop keeps going and going and going. So if tomorrow, let's say it's boot camp, because that was my world for like 10 years, if we know the workout for tomorrow, I'm going to walk you through the workout for tomorrow, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what I want you to do, how to modify people, how to regress people. If you're running, we call them zones. If you're running a zone, this is what I want you doing in your zone. Obviously, if they're on the mic, then that's a different story. But them, now they come in with confidence because they know what they're supposed to do, right? And then clients don't want to be led by a coach that doesn't have confidence. So a lot of times, in other gyms, they learn what the programming is like 10 minutes before they're supposed to do it. They don't know how to regress them. They don't know how to progress them. They don't really know what they're trying to do. So it takes them 3 or 4 sessions before they even kind of get their bearings, but they have zero confidence because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Where if you just spent 15 minutes the day before and walk them through what the workout is and what to expect from them, then they have all night to think about it, and they walk in the morning, know exactly what they need to do, and it makes all the world to that coach. So when you think about onboarding, this is just my opinion, your job is to give people confidence, because when they have confidence, they will do what they need to do. When they don't have confidence, they avoid what they're supposed to be doing. Like a lot of people, let's just say you want your coaches to have a sales conversation with somebody, but they magically just avoid it all the time. It's because they don't have confidence to have that conversation. They don't know how to enter the conversation. They don't know how to ask the right questions. They don't know how to overcome the objections. So they will just magically, oh, I forgot, or I didn't have time, or they will come up with an excuse. All that actually is they don't have the confidence, which then they don't have the courage to have the conversation, which then means they're never getting the reputation and they're never going to get the competence. Where a lot of people thinks like it's literally just a confidence game. That's it.
So yeah, you were running 10 gyms, full-time staff, salaried employees, you're paying rent. You were like the poster child for Fit Body Bootcamp. I remember seeing your face on all kinds of stuff for them. Then COVID happens, and now it looks like you're running a different model. Can you talk about what that time period was like and how you came upon Transform and why you feel strongly about that model?
Yes, going into the end of 2019, we were at 7 locations. 4 of those locations were doing over 7 figures. Our top gym was doing $144,000 a month. And I got this bright idea that, hey, let's buy 3 failing Fit Body boot camps. And I was also the VP at the franchise, helping change the systems and the processes and creating the model. So we had a pretty big team though. Like at our headquarters, we had probably 6 or 8 full-time employees that were not in the gym employees. We had 2 graphic designers. We had 3 people that worked on content. We had a programming specialist. We were basically the support system for the franchise at our locations at the time. So VP, 7 locations, and then we decided we were going to buy 3 failing locations. At the same time, one person was owning 2. Our accountant was like, hey, there's 2 locations and rumor is they're for sale. Are you interested? I was like, nope. And then I kind of got talked into it by people on my team, like, oh, we can do it. And then there was another location that was doing $10,000 a month that we bought. Our operating costs were $30,000 a month. And then I also built our headquarters in Grand Haven, Michigan, $3 million building. So in 2019, bought 3 locations, built a $3 million building, and we all know what happened in 2020. So it was the worst. You guys got out of the gym business in 2019. I made the biggest investment into the gym business in 2020, like beginning of 2020. Your guys' timing was excellent. Mine was terrible. So obviously 3 months in, so those gyms were failing. They were operating at a loss, but obviously we're like, hey, we can grow them. We can do all that stuff. When we bought those gyms, half the team that was still there, that we were counting on, that were staying, they quit. So one of the gyms, every single employee quit. So like basically imagine on a Saturday, you say, hey, welcome to the team. And then by Monday, they're not there. Right. Thankfully the other one,
awesome.
The other one, they stayed, but they were operating at about, one was doing 15K, one was doing 20K. And then one gym that was in like Podunk that I never should have bought. It was just so fucking stupid. I was doing 10K. So we started growing those gyms, having to like hire like very quickly and just piece it together and try to make it work. And then
rule ones don't rush.
Yes. And then March 16th was 15 days to slow the spread. Our revenue went from like, it was like $660,000, $700,000 a month down to like 360 in like 3 months.
It's all like 60-person classes. It's just
right.
massive group training. Couldn't have been worse. Couldn't have been a worse model for it.
You're packing them in like sardines normally.
Oh yeah. We had to change our model 10 different times. So again, at the time I was the VP at the franchise. We had meetings twice a day. So every person on the leadership team was we're in a meeting in the morning and we're meeting at night. And during California time, I'm on Michigan time. So it was 4:00 their time, 7:00 my time. And dude, it was like, what are we doing? How are we pivoting? How are we going to make this work? We went from in-person to online in 3 days. And then we had to create our first online national program, and then had to create national challenges and all that stuff, right? So again, it had 10 locations. Within was like 3 months. I was like, this shit's going to go on forever. I was like, there's no end to this. This is going to go on forever. So one of our locations was doing 10 grand a month. Again, one of them that we bought, we retained almost everybody, ironically, but it was doing 10 grand a month. Our operating costs were 30 grand a month because at the time, our lowest performing location was 50K. So we had a 50K location, we had a 65K location, a 70K location, and then $4 million gyms. So like $30,000 operating costs is not that big of a deal if you're going to make it up. But I was like, this is going to go on forever. And a lot of people, and this is a learning lesson, they would hang on because they made that 70K investment. But I'm like, I'm going to lose 20 grand for the next 2 years if I hang on to this thing. So would you rather lose 70 grand or 480, right? Like it was a no-brainer. So we shut that down within 2 to 3 months once the pandemic happened because I'm not fighting for this. Like this is really dumb. And then we owned one of our buildings. So one of the buildings we had $300,000 in equity in, and then it was the time that you couldn't hire. So I don't know what the gyms you guys work with. The Great Resignation was like, we didn't have our internship program because we couldn't have one. So we had 3 rock star coaches and all our gyms needed people. And that building needed a $100,000 roof and a $200,000 parking lot. And we had $300,000 in equity and we needed the coaches elsewhere. I was like, and we could move clients to the other locations because it was centrally located. So then we ended up closing that one down and then being able to sell the building. And then 7th location, I sold to one of our team members. Seller financed that location. That brought us down to 7. And then that's when we started the transition to our new model. So 7 locations, went to our new model. At the time, I was coaching the mastermind for Fit Body Bootcamp. Obviously, I stepped down completely. And then January, we started the process of the transitions. And 2 of the locations, the size of it was too small. And then the demographics of one of the locations wasn't going to work inside of our new model. So I sold those locations for above 7 figures to get those locations off the ground, which actually helped with the build outs because the build outs have been really fucking expensive. And that brings us down to the 5 locations. So that's kind of,
you sold 2 locations for 7 figures, like in COVID.
Yep. So those locations still, it wasn't during COVID. It was post COVID. Like, I don't know if COVID's actually ever left, but post COVID. So we were able to build them back up and then be able to sell them off.
So what is it? What is the new model? What is Transform?
Transform's mainly small group training. And then we also have larger group training one-on-one as well. But really the thing that kind of separates us from everybody else is everything is custom for our clients. And one of the things I didn't like about large group training, even though we got a lot of clients' results, you could just never provide them the accountability, the support, and stay on top of that many clients. So a lot of people, no matter what systems we had in place, would fall through the cracks. Some people would lose 50 pounds and then they would gain it back. And it was just like, man, like there's got to be a better way to support our members. And we all know that when people pay, they pay attention. The more they pay, the more they pay attention. And the other thing that we were finding in large group was the longer they stayed, the worse they got. The more beat up they got, the more their body breaks down. And that's the opposite of what you want. So there's some things in the model that I didn't love. And then the other thing I didn't love in the large group training model is longevity of coaches. If the coaches were not going to go on to want to be run a location, there just wasn't another position for them. And the turnover rate with coaches pre-COVID was like 2 to 3 years. Post-COVID, you're turning over coaches at like every 6 to 12 months. So the longevity of the coaches, like the hours suck, the pay can only be so much, and then, it beats up your body. Like it's really hard on the body. So I was like, our coaches are our program. Our coaches are what makes this work. And every time we turn over a coach, you get new drama, you get new problems, you get turnover, you get team culture goes down, team morale goes down, client morale goes down. And it was like, man, this is an unwinnable game of coaches, which honestly, it's okay. Here's the difference though. Like if you're at scale, it is amplified greatly. If you only have one location, it's not that big of a deal because you as the owner, if you're intelligent, you will have relationship capital, right? So if a coach leaves, it's not that big of a deal because you're the face, you're there, you provide security, they know you, they know what you're about, they like you, right? But when you're at scale and you don't want to be the face of the business and you don't have relationships with any of your clients, you start to become the asshole that this is why this person left. Or if you did they look at you like you're harming them and you're hurting them when a coach leaves. And there's not really a whole lot of ways to overcome that except for unless you want to live in the location and build that relationship capital. So one of the big things too is to be able to provide better opportunities for our coaches, better schedule. You can train semi-private or one-on-one until you're fucking retired if you want to, right? It doesn't beat up the body. The energy's a lot lower. If you work from 5 a.m. to 11, you're not like, man, I'm exhausted. I need a nap. Your whole day is shot. So you can do it all day. So really the model wasn't working in the sense of like, we couldn't provide clients exactly what we wanted. And then it also wasn't working in the sense of being able to retain coaches and be able to provide them a career and be able to have coaches for the next 5 to 10 years, because that will be your kryptonite to your business of your coach turnover.
And so the stat I see on your site here that you advertise is 91% of Transform members use their membership 2 to 3 times per week. So how are you packaging and pricing and selling these memberships?
So everything starts with like, we do a starting point session with clients. So they come in, depending on what we're selling. Like right now we sell a transformation program. So they come in, we sell them a $600 transformation program. So trying to make as much money on the front end. It's not gym launch free and then it's not free bullshit. I don't believe in that. I feel like that eventually will ruin your reputation, but sorry for anybody who's running that. So they come in, they opt in, they do a lead. We do a discovery call to make sure that they actually have some motivation. And then we schedule them in for a starting point session. And then we sell them what they need. So if they're a weight loss client, we sell them a 6-week transformation package, which includes semi-private. And then with the semi-private, they get unlimited large group training. And then we also will program custom nutrition for them and then habits and lifestyle. So the majority of our people are either going on a 5-time a month semi-private or a 3-time a week semi-private, depending on what they're doing. So our pricing right now for 3-time a week is $380.
You're doing a transformation, right? So it's like, it's a 12, like, what's the ad say? What's the offer? How do you get them to opt in?
So we have three different things right now for ads. So we're doing a fit over 40 transformation program, a fit over 50 transformation program, and then I call it our retire strong transformation program. So we're really calling out, the nice part when you break up the demographic is you can really call out like their desires and really hit their pain points and the things that they're worried about versus a generic weight loss. I think you can do generic weight loss between 20 and 40. Totally fine. Like, I think that's totally okay. But obviously once you start getting in your 40s, your 50s, and your 60s, you have different pain points. But we've really dialed in who our demographic is. So our demographic is 40 plus. They're either a professional or they are a spouse of a professional. And then, they really want professional help. So that's kind of our ideal demographic. So 40 to 50 is targeting, and then 50 to 60 is targeting, and then 60 to 70 is our targeting. And then right now we're getting, it's about $10 to get a lead. Which,
wow, that sounds pretty cheap.
That's not bad.
It's not terrible because like, obviously it's not a giveaway. It's not a freebie. It's like, hey, get more information. And then they know that they're going to get followed up with, right? So we follow up with them. We're actually, using AI bots right now to do the initial follow-up to book the discovery call because we're getting a lot of leads. So a lot of leads come in. It's really hard to follow up with those leads the way that you need to. So now we have AI that follows up with them, and then they book a discovery call, which then somebody in our team does about a 15-minute discovery call with that person, make sure that they're going to be a good fit, that they're motivated. We book them in for a starting point session.
And so you said it was about $100 a week for 3 sessions. Are these 30-minute sessions?
No, they're 45 minutes. So semi-private, 1 to 4 is what we do. I think better economics is honestly 1 to 6, but our coaches like 1 to 4 because you can give them a little bit better attention. So it's $380 a month for that. We call it a 2 to 3 time a week package, but really anyone who buys the 2 to 3, they're coming 3 times a week, and then they get everything else included with that.
That sounds like a pretty good price point for that from a value standpoint. And so the 6 week that you're selling on the front end, that's about the target price point. So it seems like it's probably not a hard conversation when it's time to renew at the end, right? It's like,
yeah, if they can afford that, they can afford to stay on, right? If you can't afford that, then you're not going to be able to afford our prices. We can downsell them into large group training. So our large group training is $199 a month. We can downsell them, but like if you're broken and you're old, I don't want you going into large group training. So part of it is just ethically, what should we be putting this person into? And if they're not the right fit, then we're not going to put them into that program.
And what is your like internal upselling process? Because it sounds like you had one back in the Fit Body days. You were reselling people on challenges, I'm assuming seasonally or whatever. And then you're also upselling them at certain points in their journey on their nutrition. I think you're still probably doing that now. So are you having regular kind of check-in sales, not sales, but check-in sessions, goal review sessions? What do you call them? And what's your process for that?
Yeah, we call them accountability sessions. So clients can book one once a month. Included in their membership is nutritional guidance. So we actually have a metabolic reader. So they actually come in, we do a metabolic test to see what the resting metabolic rate is. And then we use that to prescribe nutrition one of 4 ways. So we use Trainerize as our app to communicate with clients and build out programs and do different things for them. So depending on the client, we'll either prescribe what we can prescribe inside of Trainerize, or we use our proprietary nutrition system to provide them their nutrition. And then clients that come in for like a nutrition appointment, then we can upsell them to a higher level package. If they want more than, hey, let's meet once a month and I'll check in with you every once in a while. If they want like the full shebang, they want like daily accountability, daily support, and we're riding you, then we're going to upsell for that.
And so did you find like there was a lot of friction in switching the models, and what kind of impact did that have to kind of the top and bottom line?
Yeah. So we had a lot more people leave like boot camp to the large group model than we expected. Like it didn't completely gut it, but it gutted it pretty hard, where we're like, hey, we got to rebuild up the large group training, because we also did a price increase at the same time. So change the model and a price increase. I don't recommend that. We haven't transitioned our
ripping off the Band-Aid.
Yeah. Well, it just pisses people off. I don't know what it is about the gym business, but like when you raise people's prices in the gym business, it just, it pisses people off like hardcore, no matter what. But if you think about it, you're a service-based business, you're a relationship-based business. I see you 3 to 5 times a week. Like it just doesn't feel right to the end consumer. What we're doing in our 5th location, because we're like, okay, like we can't just gut boot camp. What we're doing to transition this time around, because it was basically try it for 30 days. And then after that, if you want to cancel, you can cancel. We're locking everyone in at their rate for 3 months, giving them time to try, get through it. And then after the 3 months, if they're going to stay on, then they're going to go to the new prices. So we think that's going to be a much smoother transition to not having as many people cancel right away on the large group training side of things.
Yeah, because we're starting to see this. We work with a lot of CrossFit gyms, and so small group training is being talked about a lot, because you're starting to see the group classes shrink. And so I think you're going to see a lot of people trying to transition into that model. So it's kind of interesting to hear that it was a rockier transition than you would have thought. And so
yeah, because what we found too is like the goal is that people go up to the higher level packages, right? But the majority of them, even though they got trials, the majority of them didn't increase. So not only do you lose a lot of boot camp people, but then you don't have a lot of people transitioning to like semi-private. So large group people are mainly going to stay large group people. And I think a mistake is people think that, well, if X amount of people upgrade their membership, but in reality, in some of our locations, people have had years to upgrade their membership and they haven't upgraded their membership. Just because now it's changed doesn't mean that they're going to be interested or it's at a price point that they can do. So I think a big mistake would be to try to gut your large group to think that you're going to grow your semi-private. What I would do instead is prove the model in the sense of grow your semi-private so much that now you need to cut back on your large group training because it becomes a capacity issue. So it's almost like prove it first before you go all in. And then the other thing that we did was we did change the large group training quite a bit. What I would have done initially was keep it as similar as humanly possible and then slowly tweak it as you go. So we kind of pulled the Band-Aid off where I think there is a way to, in a way, change your model, but do it a lot more slowly where it doesn't have big effects on your bottom line. Because the average location, we lost about $20K in large group training revenue. And we only made up, we lost money on the transition. So if we would have done it differently, we would have made money on the transition. Obviously, this is a 12-month play where we're like, hey, we know we're going to take a hit in membership, but the goal is this is what the long-term play. So part of it was, hey, this is the vision. We're going all in on the vision. But I think there's ways to protect the downside when you make those transitions. But again, how many people have made this transition that I could go to that I could get feedback and advice from? Nobody, right? So
it doesn't seem like something that's happened very much. No, but I definitely do think it's something that may happen more in the future here.
Yeah, if you ever want to transition your gym, come talk to me. I'll help you not make big mistakes.
There you go. Done.
Yeah. So we're getting close on time here, Matt. Where can people go if they want to learn more about what you got going on?
Yeah, I got a couple websites. You can go to mattwilberofficial.com. That's my personal website. You can check out everything that I offer, coaching, consulting, starting to get into a lot more one-on-one consulting. And then in August 25th and 26th, we have the Domination Workshop, which is basically 2 days of literally giving the entire blueprint of how I went from my grandma's basement to doing over $40 million in sales. It's like everything that you need for your business in 2 days. It is like drinking from a fire hose. And then the cool part is it's only 60 people. And the presenters are right in front of you. So you can ask questions. You can talk to them in the hallway. You can pick their brain. I stay literally all night. I tell people I'll leave once your questions are answered. So it's a really cool event. It's really an event that I wish I had coming up into the fitness industry. So it's just me, a couple of guests that are handpicked that are on specific topics that are really important for you growing your business.
When's the book coming out? When are you writing the book?
When I have time.
Still transitioning. All right, Gym World, there you have it. It is Matt Wilber Official. If you got some value from this week's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a hateful comment. Until next week.